Our next birthday is for Terry for 25 years.
Yeah.
Karen, Susie, Peggy, and Terry. You guys. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Terry. Happy birthday to you.
One more time.
Keep coming back.
One more time.
You help me get it?
Thanks for the green cake, Susie. I'm Terry. I'm an alcoholic. And
Hi, Terry.
I want to thank my sponsors, these women that I walk this path with every day, every year, for many years, for being here and giving me my cake, for loving me through my strong times, the times when I was really winning, and through the times when I was really beaten down. You know, like I got a text saying that 25 years is a lot of no matter what, and I'm here to say 30 days is not a lot of no matter what. So you times that by however many 25 years is, and it's a lot of no matter what. And you guys have just seen me through so much, and I just love you so much. And I want to thank Sonia for traveling with me, you know, down here and traveling this road with me the way she does. And I want to say happy birthday to Hillary. You know, I moved to Portland about 7 years ago. You guys are going to hear my story in a minute because I'm speaking too. So, but I just, you know, I know Hillary from up there, and then she came down. I'm like, I'm going to be down there in a few months taking cakes. And she's like, me too. And I mean, she has 1 year, like, today, this is it. You know what a, like, rush that is? I mean, I'm sorry you do, but you had it. But, you know, to me, nothing's longer than the first year. It's like, because some of us, it takes us 3 or 4 years to get the first year. So it just is off the hook to see you, and it's awesome to see people just shift and change. So anyway, I'm going to sit down so I can get back up, and that's just the way it is. Thanks for my recovery, you guys.
That's it. Okay. This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Terry.
Okay, so I'm back. I'm Terry. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And yeah, it's so anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm really tired. You know, I've been in self-will for days, so I'm a little tired. So I don't really know what I got for you, but I'm gonna give you what I got. You know, mostly it's been about work. You know, people aren't acting the way I need them to at work. Today, that affects me sometimes a little bit financially. And before I got here, it affected me legally. You know, when I had trouble at work, it usually regarded the police, right? Being a hooker and a forger, when you had work problems, you went to jail. That's just kind of how it rolled in my house. So, it's a different day. It's a different problem. I'm really grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be clean and sober. I got sober right here, you know, in the West Side Alano Club and the Marina Center and everywhere else on the west side. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because when I got sober for a lot of years, every motel I passed, I'd be like, I live there and I live there. Because I never had my own place before I got sober. I either lived with my grandparents or the lover of the moment or a motel. I lived in a lot of motels. And I have a lot of history here. You know, I grew up right here in Inglewood and Culver City, and my best friend in high school's brother-in-law used to own the dry cleaners across the street, and we used to sit over there and eat White Crosses by the bagfuls and pick out baby names because I was pregnant, you know, and shit like that. You know, like that's kind of how, those were the good days. You know, that was like kind of before I started to get in trouble and stuff. So, you know, I just have a lot of history around here. Right now we're staying in Venice, and right where my friend parked last night, I go, wow, I outran the police right down that alley right there. Because we were having this, you know, I was trying to outrun them, and then this car pulled out and blocked him, and then left and left, and then jumped out of the car, and I lost money in my sock, and jumped this fence. And so I have all these great stories, you know, this is like my life. On a good day. On a good day, I outran the police. On a bad day, I went to jail for kidnapping, for ransom, and faced 25 years to life. So, you know, it's just a difference of a day. One day it's pretty good, you're running from the cops and winning, and the next day, not so good, you're running from the cops and you don't win. That's how it was for me, you know. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 25 years old, and by then I had a distended liver and a heart murmur. I'd been married a couple times. I actually did a geographic from the streets of Hollywood into the Army, because I thought that might be a good thing to do. And I don't know about you guys, but you know, the history of my getting loaded is I would have a good idea, what I thought was a good idea that took me a second to act on, and months, sometimes years to get out of. And that was like, the Army was a good idea, right? I'm just laying one night, I'm mad at, you know, the person I'm with, and, you know, they didn't hit me because I had a big mouth. I was always getting hit in the mouth, and they left, and I was upset, and was thinking, now how can I change my life? And suddenly this commercial came on that said, be all that you can be in the Army. I was like, hey, there's a good idea. They're like, get your GED, and, you know, do. And by then I already had a daughter. I already had this child, and I was thinking, well, maybe if I told them if I tried to go in the Army, I could get the GED, because I had dropped out of high school in the 10th grade and had her. I was stabbed, pregnant, and married by the time I was 16 years old, and living with my grandparents, and then, you know, graduated into prostitution and spent a lot of years in Hollywood, you know, and that was just it. You know, it's like, you know, when I got sober, I could not stay sober, and I used to ask my sponsor, like, why is it so hard for me to stay sober? Like, at one point I got sober, and I hooked up with this guy in sobriety, and he went out and killed a friend of mine in front of the church I was baptized in, you know, in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, that's how we rolled back then. You know, we were at a Hollywood dance. My friend said, you have a lot of friends here, just break up with them here. So I did. He had a gun in the bushes and was shooting it off outside the dance. He had to lock up the whole dance, and the police came, and I was on the stage, and the lights are flashing, and this is me sober. This is early sobriety, right? You know, it's like, so I brought my wreckage like right in here with me. You know, today people are much more civilized. They have Prozac and Wellbutrin, and they just sort of go, hey, it's working. What are you stressing about? You know, for me, I was very stressed out when I got here. Not feeling it, you know, not feeling it. People like talk so loud, and these windows used to be open, so I don't know, it's like a AA thing that they put the speaker in front of the window all the time. I think it's to spot the newcomer, because, you know, we're like, oh my God, you know, the light, the sun. So, you know, when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I really didn't have a lot of, you know, skill set. You know, my skill set was all geared around drinking and using. You know, I had been drinking for like, you know, since I could get at alcohol, I drank, and then I had an 8-year crack addiction by the time I got here too. So, you know, I didn't really know how people did simple things like going to the grocery store and buying anything. I used to send guys. I loved it because when I got sober, you know, you could get a guy to do almost anything for you around here. I mean, they're just so, okay, we'll do it, right? So I would send them in for my tampons and all kinds of stuff, because I was embarrassed to go to the store clean and sober and ask for tampons. So I'd send a guy in to do it, and he'd do it. You know, they do almost anything for you around here with the hopes of getting laid, you know, so that's sort of how it worked when I got here. Patty Hicks used to say, you know, they tell the newcomers to raise their hand, the newcomer women, so that the women could avoid them and the guys knew where they were, you know, and it was sort of like that when I got sober, you know, real, you know, fresh meat, right? I mean, I remember my first Halloween here. Oh my God. First off, I did not know from Halloween. Like, I was one of those people that was so high most of the time. When Halloween came, I thought I was hallucinating. You know, I would look and see like a nun and a convict and in a car and think, what the fuck? You know, like, what's that? You know. So when Halloween came, you know, I was ready for it. I was like, oh, Halloween, okay. Now, my sobriety date, the one that stuck, is December 1st, 1985. But my initial one was August 15th, 1984. October 1st, 1984, December 1st, 1984, and October 1st, 1985, and then the one that stuck, December 1st, 1985. If you hear the 1st and the 15th, you can, you know, I'm kind of a welfare check. You know, I was so sure I was going to forget the date, you know, that I needed it to be on the 1st or the 15th. You know, that's kind of how I worked that, right? Anyway, so, you know, by Halloween, the first time, I'm like 30 days sober at best. I mean, I'm, you know, 30 days sober. I don't know how they are in here. So So the Atlanta Club has a dance, and I decide I'm going to wear my insides on my outside, and I put on this, I become this ugly green witch. And I have green and black makeup all over my face, and this hook nose, and this whole little thing going on, right? And I'm just as ugly as I could possibly be. I'm so ugly that this guy that 13-stepped me was in the hospital with a heart attack, and I went to see him, and he was so embarrassed. He showed his doctor my driver's license so that they would understand that I really was cute, right? This is how weird people were in the day, okay? They're probably still like that, but I don't know. I'm not around that many people. But anyway, so I go to this Halloween dance, not knowing the person who bought me the ticket thought we were having a date. So first off, that pissed him off. Roller Coaster Carl, you know where he got his name, right? So I go to this dance, and I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm trying to get in the groove, right? It's Halloween. I show up, and it's like friggin' hooker night at the club. I mean, these chicks got like stockings on and the thing all up their butt. I mean, they should have been, I thought they should have been charging, just to be like that, right? I'm like, damn, they're up here like this without no money. And so, I mean, I had no idea. So everybody was into looking gorgeous and slutty, and I'm looking like my nose is falling off because I'm sweating, whatever. Littlest angel all the time. So, I don't know why I tell you this story, but I'm just saying I didn't fit right into Alcoholics Anonymous. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. On a good note or a bad note, I wasn't feeling the vibe. I wasn't feeling the love. I just wasn't. And, I would go out and people would say, they'd want to, like, go through your whole slip with you so that, like, I don't know, live vicariously through your slip so they didn't have to change their time. So we sort of had that kind of thing. And people talk really loud when you go out a lot. They go, how much time do you have? And you're like, I went out, I'm not deaf, it's enough already. And people would say, well, and then I used to think, like, they talk so much about drinking in Alcoholics Anonymous that I felt like if you'd stop talking about it, I'd stop thinking about it. You know what I mean? Don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. Try not to drink, just don't drink. One day at a time. Don't drink, don't drink. Did you drink? Well, God, I had to drink. I couldn't get the thought out of my mind, I didn't want to drink before I got here, but after all that talk, so... it was kind of like that. And then when I was really trying to stay sober, I never heard anything in meetings that told me how people didn't drink. I would just hear, if you don't drink, you don't get drunk. And I think, well, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why would you have to go to meetings just to figure that out? If you don't drink, you don't get drunk. And you'd say it in this way that was so profound. If you don't drink, Terry, you won't get drunk. It's like, okay, and, like this, right? So, anywho, but what I did hear that really stuck with me, I mean, there was a lot of kindness here in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll tell you the truth that, it really is sort of the kindness of strangers that kept me coming back. People hanging little cups, little chips on my cup saying, keep coming back, and like I never had a real job other than the Army thing, and once I worked in the cemetery when I was 14, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, just making flowers, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so I never had a real job. And, it's kind of hard to go looking for a job when your only resume says hooker, forger, Army hooker. Like, what do you do with that, right? It's like, that's it. Oh, and when I was 14, I worked at the cemetery. Oh, okay. Now I'm like 25, and people are saying, well, why don't you go apply at Bank of America? And I thought, well, I live near the airport. Let's apply for the airlines, right? I hadn't seen my record up to that time, Anyway, when I was 10 years sober, I had to get a copy of my record because I was, becoming the guardian of my grandparents. And I'm glad I didn't see it till I was 10 because that whole kidnapping for ransom thing was pretty hard to swallow, right? I'm like, no wonder they didn't accept me at United Airlines. They must have thought I was insane. Here, I need a job. What have you been doing? And they read my record. It's right, kidnapped for ransom. Yeah, that's perfect for a flight attendant. So I've taken some weird advice in Alcoholics Anonymous, but nothing's got me drunk. So let me just say that, none of the things that they say might get you drunk, What got me drunk is that I was constitutionally incapable of being honest with myself. Some are you. Somewhere really early in the game, I came to believe that a lie worked better than the truth. I just felt like when I tried to tell you the truth, you didn't believe me. When I told you a lie, you believed me. And I just really lived that, like, my whole life, all the way up into here. And in fact, I have a story like, I used to tell this story about how I got injured in the Army. And because I got injured in the Army, and I had this story, and of the story was that I fell down this flight of stairs. And so then I developed a phobia of stairs. And when I was probably 3 years sober, I was going down the stairs with someone and started to tell the story I've told 1,000 times about how I'd fallen down these stairs. And so I was kind of nervous around stairs, and I suddenly realized I never fell down the stairs. I made that story up to explain how I got this injury, but that wasn't how I got the injury. So I developed a complete phobia behind something that never happened. Okay, now that might not seem too funny to you, but that's fucking hysterical to me. You know, it's like there's not enough in this world to be afraid of. You got to be afraid of stuff you've made up. You know, I don't even have my own history to be afraid of. I've got made up history to be afraid of. It's like somebody making up a story saying, you know, I got stabbed, and now they're traumatized and going to PTSD classes because they got stabbed and they never got stabbed. They just made it up to impress someone when they were in jail or something, right? So I don't know. That's, to me, it's a little crazy, but maybe not to you. You guys seem to take it pretty well. You know, there's at least half the room out here is going, well, I don't see a problem with that, you know? Why is that weird? So, so when I got sober, honestly, I hadn't done much in the daylight for about 5 years. So I did not know what happened out here. I didn't know, like, I got so many tickets in that first couple of years of trying to get sober. I had like $3,000 worth of warrants and traffic tickets, because when you only drive around at 1 or 2 in the morning, you don't have to worry too much about where you park or anything like that. But when you're out during the daylight a lot, people are watching. You know, all the time. So I had all that going on, and oh my God. I found it very traumatizing to be sober. You know, some people, you hear people say, you know, hey, I'm glad I'm sober. I don't know why I ever drank. You know, feel good, life's good, it's gone, it's good. And, you know, I know why I drank. Every day I know why I drank. Every single day to this day, I know why I drank, okay? Number one, I have people problems. And there are people everywhere, okay? Everywhere. If I didn't have to deal with people, I probably wouldn't have any problems. But I do have to deal with people, okay? I have to deal with people. And it's not just that people are annoying. They want pretty normal things like your house payment. They want utilities, you know. They want you to do stuff and the money you're earning, you know, like stuff like that. You know, it's just like people stuff. They're sort of everywhere. And then, so, you know, I have problems like that remind me of why I drink. You know, I have other kinds of obsessions. I've learned a lot of ways to comfort myself, and as you can see, maybe chocolate chip cookie dough has been an issue for me. All right? And I'm the kind of person that will leave it in the freezer and go down 87 times to the freezer of a 2-story house, because I'm convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that these 3 pieces of cookie dough is all I'm going to eat for real. And then all night long, I go up and down, because each time I tell myself the same thing over and over. Right now, I had a cup of coffee and 2 bottles of water and a potential cup of tea under my seat. You know, 4 drinks. Who drinks that much? I go to like those professional seminars where people are all sitting around at these long tables. I'm the only one there with like 3 drinks, some string cheese. I got food, nuts. I mean, I got everything. It's like I'm bringing everything for my own inner child. I've got all our snacks. You know, I'm armed, you know, because I've got to be around people I don't know for like 8 hours, you know, listening. So, you know, these are problems we all should have, though, right? These are not the same problems as worrying about the last stalker and driving around your block like 5 times to see who's following you, or, you know, finding people, you know, having emotional fits on your porch because you broke up with them and now they've slit their wrists and they're doing crazy shit like that, or they've decided to kill you because they just can't live without you, you know, it's so dramatic, right? You know, you just can't live, you know, and they're shooting at you. This is the kind of breakups I had. I don't know about you guys. Even that, you know, kidnapping for ransom was, you know, my version of a domestic dispute, swear to God. I'm not making it up. It really was. And, I mean, I used to have things happen where, you know, I knew I was going to get beat up, so I'd call the police on my way in, hoping they'd get there before I got the worst of it. So, you know, and the normal person might have one of these instances happen in their life and say, hey, maybe I got a problem. Maybe I should do something. Maybe I should talk to someone. Maybe I should get a therapist. Maybe I should ask for help. But some of us, like me, asked for help long before drugs and alcohol became a problem. There was no one to help. You know, the people we asked for help were our own perpetrators. You know, when we told people what was going on, we got beat, or we got thrown out, or we got raped. I mean, I got raped on my way to ask for help from getting raped. You understand what I'm saying? So I've had some experience where just asking for help wasn't really very productive. So I learned the hard way. You know, I learned for myself that that wasn't a productive way to live. And today I look at it like, very much like I was telling somebody earlier, a metaphor I use a lot for it. It's almost like a starving, abused dog. A starving, abused animal that's starving, so you put food out for it, right? This is, to me, the kind of alcoholic I am. This is, if you're like me, this is how you are. Like, the dog needs to eat because it's going to die if it doesn't eat. And it's starving, stomach hurts, really skinny. But the fear of getting abused again, getting injured, getting, you know, like it's a trap, is so great that the dog is torn between doing what it needs to do to live or keeping from the fear keeps it from it. That's the thing that the book is talking about when it says to live a spiritual life or die of alcoholic death. That's what they're talking about. Because the alcoholic death is the one that says, hey, you can't put yourself at risk again. You cannot tell those people how you're feeling. You cannot show up for that thing. You cannot, you know, whatever it is. You cannot live. You don't deserve to be on the planet. Look at you crying over there, you big puss. You know what I mean? It's the thing that just beats you into wanting to die, you know, rather than live. And for me, it's like, you know, if I'm upset or I'm hurt or whatever, you know, I don't treat myself the way that, I mean, I've learned, but I don't treat myself the way I would treat you. If I saw you on the street and I didn't know you from Adam and you were in trouble, you were crying or you were upset, I would come to you, I'd say, can I help you? You know, I'd put my arms around you. Swear to God, you could, it doesn't even matter. You could be all stinky and look insane. And I would come, I'd put my arms around you, I'd say, what's up, what's wrong? You know, what can I do to help you? You know, it's going to be all right. Whatever's going on, it's going to change. You know, whatever you need, we'll do it. When I'm crying and upset, I want to kill myself. That's the glitch of the alcoholic. To learn, the alcoholic addict has to learn how to do for themselves what they would do in a heartbeat for anybody in the whole wide friggin' world. You know, I call it beating the crying baby. You know, we get upset and we don't want to live. That's the very first place we go. I don't want to live. And because we're upset. You know, so for me, you know, it's just like this journey of recovery hasn't just been about like, hey, I didn't drink and use. This journey about recovery has been 25 years of not giving up on Terry one day at a time in 1,000 different ways. And I learned that from you guys because you didn't give up on me. You know, even when I drank, even when I did very stupid things, I mean, I was a nightmare, you guys. In early sobriety, people knew about me everywhere. Let me tell you how I sponsored. I'm sorry. My friend Nancy calls me, right? She says, you know, this guy Harvey's over here, and he won't get off my back porch. And so, you know, I'm all laid up in the bed with someone I don't care about at all. And I said, and I was new again. I was back again for the millionth time. But it was actually this recovery, I think, and I go, okay, I'll be right there. So I get my gun, because I always carried a gun, because I was scared I'd run into the wreckage of my past in the meeting, so I carried a gun a lot. Anyway, I get my gun, and this guy decides to go with me. He's got 7 years of recovery. He's tagging along with a newcomer with a gun. So just, this is what I'm saying about you guys. You know, I'm sorry. I know you're all not like that, but people do some weird shit for love around here. But anyway, so he follows me over there. I get over there, walk in the front door. I go, where is he? She goes, he's in the back. So I open the back door. I go, hey, Harvey, what's up? He goes, you know, he's wearing fatigues and all this, and he's like, I'm here to see Nancy. I go, you gotta go. He goes, I'm not leaving. I pull out the gun. I go, oh, yes, you are. And I would have shot that motherfucker in a heartbeat. I would have just shot him right off her porch because I felt, you know, like, oh, yeah, you're leaving. And he was just, then he went all over L.A. talking about this. I mean, in the valley, everywhere. People were like, oh, you're the one with the gun over at Nancy's, you know, like this kind of crazy shit. So, I mean, it was just, you know, the guy that did the killing where I told you, you know, I took this guy out with me after I got sober for a while. I couldn't stay sober, and so I decided that if I just smoked pot and drank beer, that I might be all right with it because it was really the cocaine and the cognac and the brandy and the booze, you know, like that. So I'm thinking the soft stuff's not too bad. In fact, I went and 12-stepped somebody over a pitcher of beer, and I guess he had been to AA before because he said, maybe, I don't think you're supposed to be drinking that. I'm like, no, I'm not that kind of alcoholic. I'm not the beer, I'm the beer drinking kind. I have a beer, I can drink beer, that's not the problem. I'm a different kind of alcoholic. The beer drinking, pot smoking is not a problem. So I went out, just with this mentality of thinking, okay, I can't take it. Go to meetings, tell the truth, write inventory, pray. Don't be with this guy because he doesn't have enough God. And, it just seemed like too much. And all of it in the daylight. It's just too much. It was too much pressure. I wanted to fire my sponsor. I was too scared. I figured I'd just drink on her, because, in the day, I don't know what they do around here now, but in the day, if you drank on your sponsor, she'd dump you. I mean, that's just all there was to it. It wasn't because she was mad at you, but it's like if she could have got you sober, she would have. And you didn't stay sober, so now you need to get another one. I mean, it's a real simple logic. So I drink, I go out, I take this guy with me. My daughter had come back to live with me. She leaves me almost immediately. And we're out one night. It's only been I probably was out like 2 weeks. And let me tell you, we went to Malibu to go out so we could drink 2 drinks. We ordered 2 drinks at Moon Shadow so we could start kind of high up and go down from there. And I mean, really, it was like, there was like 2 of us and 4 drinks, and the waitress was like, are you expecting anyone? We're like, no, this is for us, so. And it really took us maybe 10 days, maybe 14 days to end up over on Western with him scoring sets and me having to, cover him with the gun again, out in the daylight. And then eventually, we had a little altercation where he shot and killed a friend of mine in front of the church I was baptized in. And I was like the Statue of Liberty in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the thing that shifted for me that day, 2 things came to me that day. One was when I came out of that after hours joint, at 6 in the morning, the sun coming up, I remember thinking, this is it. This is the feeling that I always want to have. And I'd been in and out of AA already, so I had some sobriety thing, and but this was the feeling I always wanted to have. So in that moment, I knew the feeling that this is why I get high. This is the feeling I want to have. And within 5 minutes, this guy's driving me home. I see a car swerving in front of us, and I'm like, oh my God, that's my car. And the love puppy, that's what I called him, was in that car, comes out with a huge 357, shoots my friend in the chest. I get crushed between the cars, and it's just like a photo moment right in front of the church I was baptized in on Centinela in Florence. And we went around to the hospital, and I got everybody out of the car, and I got back in the car because I was headed for a bar. Because, after all that, you need a drink, right? That's what I'm thinking. And I see the shadow of a guy, in the emergency room, and he goes, I wouldn't leave if I were you. And it turned into a homicide, bottom line. And so 2 years later, when this guy gets out of prison, the love puppy, of course, he starts stalking me in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So then there was all that drama. I wanted to kill him. My friend said, don't kill him, which, I'm 2 years sober then, so it wasn't as easy to think about killing someone. And my friend said, why don't you call his parole officer, blah, 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 blah. So, the point is I'm just saying, like, this sobriety thing can be as crazy as you want. It just can. People get here and they seem really normal and sound, but they're whack. I don't care what they look like in here. I don't care what they're talking about. It takes a really long time to get okay in here. And 90% of the people are so crazy. And I went to this Life After 10 meeting on Tuesday, and I'm looking at everyone thinking, these are all old timers, and they are the most, crazy people I've ever met. If you really listen to them and talk to them, we have all these little quirks and things we do. But the interesting thing is we've learned how to live without drinking, without using, without hurting anybody else. And somehow made peace with who we are and learn how to emotionally navigate this thing, and that's a lot to say. It's sort of like people say, about 6 years ago, I went up north, and I was, I did that Army thing, so I went up north and I had to see a doctor because I had to get new doctors. And in the VA, when you go to the doctor, they ask you a lot of questions. So they want to know, have you ever seen anyone killed and all this kind of stuff. And, when you go to a regular doctor, they don't usually ask you that. But at the VA, they want to know, have you ever seen anyone killed? Yes. Have you ever seen anyone dead? Yes. And they don't ask you if you participated, but, I guess they leave you a little something. But anyway, so I remember this woman who was interviewing me said to me, after she heard all this stuff, and she was a psychiatrist, she looked at me, and I'm like, long time sober now. And she looks at me, and she says to me, what keeps you going? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, what keeps you on the planet? Like, in other words, and I said, are you saying, like, why do I want to live? You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty tough when, like, a professional therapist wants to know why you haven't killed yourself yet. You know what I'm saying? And the interesting thing is the answer was on the tip of my tongue. It was like, because I'm determined to thrive in my life. You know, if I don't thrive, they win. You know, whoever they are, you know, whoever I think they are, you know, and that's just where I'm at. You know, I have really struggled to have a life, you know. I didn't get sober to just go through the motions of my life. When I drank and used, that's all I did. I just went through the motions of my life, and it didn't matter what happened to me. I just kept doing it and kept doing it because I didn't want to live. And once I got sober and gave up that relationship, I said, my life has to get good, you know, and I'm going to get in it. And you hear things around here that really help. Like people say the alcoholic's like a little boy in the backyard digging through a pile of pony shit with a spoon. And you're like, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere, right? That's how we are, you know. Our life is so hard. We're like, man, it's got to get good sometime, you know. So it's not easy life on life terms, you know. I'm older now, I'm fatter now, you know, I'm tireder now, but I'd probably be all those things drunk. You know what I mean? The difference is that I have a life, you know, I have my own house, I have a car, you know, nobody's throwing me out anywhere. I don't have the police looking for me. You know, I don't have anyone shaming me. No one beats me because I don't do what they want. No one kicks me out of the bed. I don't have to wake up with people I don't know. I don't have to pull crumbs and shit off of me from sleeping in places that people don't even want to go sit down in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've slept in places where, you know, cockroaches were like on the fucking phone. You know, like things were moving. Everything was moving, like for real, not just because I was on acid. So, you know, I, hung out in super, super nice places, and 3 days later been in these really, disgusting places. And, that's just the way my life was. It was completely unpredictable. For me, the booze worked and the drugs worked until they didn't. And I didn't know for a long time what that meant, what they didn't. And what it meant is that even no matter how loaded I got, I could still see myself. I could see myself. It was almost like I was having a third-party experience looking at my disgusting ass, like out of body, just me with me. And that, to me, was like the end of it. One of my sponsees once said, I didn't get sober at the worst time of my life. Well, I didn't either. I didn't get sober when I got the, kidnapping from France. I didn't get sober when I was beaten beyond recognition. I didn't get sober when I got raped by the person who was supposed to be helping me from the rapist. None of those things. I didn't get sober in any of the worst of my times. I got drunk over the worst of my times. I got sober when things were actually almost okay and my life was boring as shit, because I'm not the kind that likes to control and enjoy. I don't want to feel anything at all, and so to me, it's like, it's really all about controlling and enjoying my feelings, and learning today that, like, I cannot do it, I just can't have it all. The price I pay for being sober, they told me when I got here, you've paid the price for your chair in here. Let me tell you something. That's a fucking lie, okay? You pay the price by staying here. Because the feelings that we deal with in here, it's no joke. This is a warrior's path. It just is. Even if we're pushed here by desperation, we stay here. We stay here by some kind of grace. We stay here by something that says, I'm not going to continue to do to me what's always been done to me. You understand? It's just for today, I'm going to be on my own side. I'm going to be with Terry no matter what. And when things get hard for me, I tell myself that. I learned to tell myself that about 8 years ago. Whatever happens, Terry, I'm going to be with you. I'm not going to leave you no matter what. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to choose someone else over you. And, it's been an interesting haul, recovery. It really has. And I'm really grateful for it. But there's a lot of things that have happened. And one of them is that I had a daughter, one daughter, so my only child. And she was 9 when I got sober. And she, I wish I could tell you, as you heard, I wasn't the sanest person getting sober. And it took me a long time to get a grip. So she was 9, and by the time she was 12, she started using. But in those early years, she used to push love notes across the table to people in the Alano Club. They'd be crying, and she'd write them a little note, send it across to them. I mean, her heart was in the right place, but she was already an addict, alcoholic by nature. She already had all the damage. She was raised by me, and my theme song to her was "Don't Cry Out Loud." So let's start there, okay? I'd say I'll be right back, and 3 days later, I was like, "Mommy's been in the ozone. I'm sorry, babe." So her thing was pretty interesting. And the bottom line is that she started to get loaded. And even though she had all this AA in her, and she started coming to AA, and at one point at 16, she sobered up. She went through Clare Youth Recovery for a year. She got her high school diploma, all that. When she turned 21, she went out. And she had 3.5 years sober. She went out. She lasted a little over a year. And in that time, my grandfather died. And within several months of that, she got involved in a killing, and she got life in prison. and right over here in Santa Monica. I was very infamous around here too. So my life has been very transparent in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, I've been here talking to you when I got sober, when I got married, when I got divorced, when my kid went to prison, when, you know, it's just, you know, I've been here. There was a period of time when I was like, I felt like all I did was speak at the Marina Center. I didn't have a private moment. And I'm the kind of person, like, when I got sober, if you asked me how it was going, that was like fighting words. You know, like, don't ask me any questions. Who are you? You know, that's where I come from. This very, like, ignorant place of, like, people go, how you doing? I'm like, what are you, writing a book? You know, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like this, right? Everything was F this, F that, F you, you know? What the F? I mean, one time I was whispering in a meeting and a guy was at the podium and he goes, I got the floor. I'm like, F you don't run nothing here. You know, I was like that, right? So you didn't have to worry, you didn't have to wonder if it was a cult with me around, because they were like, if they let her here, probably anyone could come. So all I can say is, you know, I was like the long shot horse for sure, and you guys continue to be kind to me. I've been to meetings all over the place, and people have told me to keep coming back. You know that. You know, people are here that actually saw me new. I don't have to exaggerate. I don't have to exaggerate how crazy I was. I mean, you know, I was in a meeting, I tell the story a lot because it just cracks me up, but I was at the Atlanta Club once and there was this guy at the podium and he had like really curly yellow hair. I had a perm too, but that's another story. Anyway, he had this really curly yellow hair and he was all tatted up here. You could tell he used to shoot up in his neck and he was missing teeth. And I was about 3 years sober or something, had my suit on, you know, I'd managed to get a job. You know, I used to put on my appointments to try to get work after the noon meeting so I could show up and you guys would go, wow, you look great, you know, to kind of counteract my head, which as soon as I was 2 blocks from the house would go, you look like shit, and everybody knows you're an alcoholic. You know how that is, right? You're at home, you're trying to get it together, and it takes you 2 hours, and you get in the car, and 2 blocks from the house, your head goes, you look like crap. So I would go to the club, and you guys would say, I look great. Anyway, the bottom line is I'm standing in this meeting, and I'm about 3 years sober, and I'm in the back, because, you know, when you get sober and you get it all together, you think you got it going on, so you stand in the back there, like those guys. And, you know, don't want to get too far into the, you know, kind of smoky, grungy, you know, just trying to stay back there and get it where you can, you know. And so that's where I was, and my friend Steve was standing right by me, and I was looking at this guy and, you know, just taking it in because, you know, I don't need much. I'm just back here. And Steve goes, well, you know, and I'm thinking this guy looks trashed, you know, the guy up on the podium. And he goes, yeah, see that guy up on the podium up there? And I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking he's going to say something mean about him, right? I don't know why I thought that, but that's just where my head went. And he said, he looks just like you when you got here. And you guys, I fell out laughing because it was so true, you know what I mean? And it's like, I think that's the thing that happens to me here, you know, is you guys keep me keeping it real. You know, I come to recovery, I come to meetings, and I just hear stuff that calls me on my stuff. Even if you don't say it directly to my face, you know, I hear you saying it to yourself, I hear you talking about it, and then suddenly it just pulls my covers, and I'm just like, what the hey? You know what I mean? I come to meetings because it reminds me that my primary purpose is stay sober, help another alcoholic. Everything else cannot be that serious. It just cannot. There's never going to be a time where I don't have a clean, quiet place to lay my head, where I'm not going to be safe, where people aren't going to help me. There's never going to be a time anywhere in the world will I go. We're getting ready to go to like Vietnam and Thailand. People say, why? I say, well, because my friend wants to go. You know, like, I don't know. Do you ever want to go there? Do you like the heat? No, I don't, but we're going. So, but the point is we've already looked up AA over there. You know, they're like, hey, come on over. You know, like, there's never going to be a place ever in the world. As long as I stay sober, I have a couple of things. One is I always have help. I always know what to do to get what I need. And number 2 is I always know what to do with myself. You know, if I don't know what to do, I know where to find help. And before I got here, I didn't know what I was feeling. You guys go, how you doing, Terry? I'm like, not good. How you feeling? Not good. You know, I didn't know all these little pictures on the thing, like, you know, pensive, you know how they do that, you know, like the little, even the faces they put on the, you know, text, you know, with the crooked smile. I didn't know any of that. I knew rage, and I knew self-pity. Those are my 2, you know, pain, rage. Those are my 2. That was it. So, you know, everything in between was not good. And it was like that for a long time. And initially I had maybe 1 good day out of a whole week. I'm just saying this to you if you're new out there and you're just trying to like, what's this reality thing all about? I'm telling you, it's brutal. But, but it gets better. We don't get sober like on a great day. It's not like life is working out and we're thinking, hey, everything's going real good, feeling good about myself, got my shit together, gonna go to AA. Like that's not how it works. It's like we're in here, we don't got a lot going on other than warrants and how to clean up stuff and pissed off ex-spouses and kids we feel guilty about and just a lot of shit. It's not, we don't come to under the best case scenario. So in the beginning, I might have like one good day out of 7. One good day, and all the rest of them were hard. And then my life changed so much over a relatively short period of time that when I had a bad day, I wondered what was wrong, right? I'm having a bad day, it's like the end of the world. The end of the world because it's a dark day. And people, they take a lot of stuff for being depressed or whatever, but being anxious or depressed is kind of part of sobriety. So I'm just letting you know. You might find something to take the edge off, and if you take a medication all your life, don't even listen to this. But when I talk about medication, I always feel like the people who need it are going to want to get off it, and the people who don't need it are going to fight to hang on to it. So for myself, I'm just doing it a la natural. I've tried a lot of different avenues spiritually and even, with help. But for me, this is what I got. And the price I pay for that is I have to spend a lot of time on self-care. I have to be in touch with what I'm doing, and I have to accept that I'm going to be tired, and I'm going to be depressed, and I'm going to be more weepy than most people. If there's 10 people in the room and something happens, I'm probably going to be the first one to cry. Why? Because I'm not on Prozac, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a really sensitive person, I've been through a lot of shit. So anyway, sometimes you just have to go, hey, this is what I got. This is what I'm left with. And it's a lot better than I ever thought I would have. I am so much more than I ever thought I was going to be. My folks told me I'd be nothing. You understand? I was a little kid that people hated just because I had red hair and freckles. And when I say people, I mean my mom and dad. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. My dad died on Friday, this past Friday. He died. I was at a spiritual retreat. We continue, I think there's two things. There's this thing that one of my sponsors, who's out right now on heroin, but he said something about me that I'll share with you, is that, the difference is that, a lot of different things happen to me. People who are close to me, I'm telling you, they can testify. I don't have an easy life. I don't know why. Things happen. My dad died, whatever. It's every day, it's something. Every week, it's something. I'm not attracting it, it just is. So fuck that stuff. But the point is that for me, it's like, instead of being like someone that is just weighed down and can't cope with my life, I go on and do the things I need to do. I am a giant in my own life. So it's almost like these little things are kind of hanging off me, and there's an effect of these things, but I show up. I'm standing here, with you, with them. I'm in LA, you understand? I'm doing the deal. And I'm having a life, and I have a good time. And before I got sober, I was constantly miserable. My life was visually gray. I was never really happy ever. I didn't want to live from the time I could remember, from the time I was born. And at one point in recovery, after my daughter went to prison, she was in jail facing life. My dog died. I got divorced. My grandparents, one died, one got Alzheimer's. I went to a shrink to get on get on whatever it is people do, disability. And the shrink, just like my own mind, because the head never, there's no situation the head can't make worse. Well, there's no situation a shrink can't make worse either. Because, I went in there and I'm like, this is all going on. I could use some help. I need to go on disability. And he goes, well, I think you're depressed. And not only are you depressed, I think you've been depressed your whole life. And you're never coming out of this. This is a person I've talked to for like 10 minutes. I'm like, dude, don't you think some of this stuff is kind of tragic and would be kind of hard to go through? I mean, of course I'm crying. You see what I'm saying? Like, for us, I think sometimes, for us, for me, I've had to learn to define, what is real, what is good, what is right, what is true. What is important to me, who I want to be in my life. And I have people like you. There's people I have found, all my heroes in Alcoholics Anonymous, I have found people who have been there before that don't share with me their theory, like, oh, I think this might work for you. They say, hey, this is what I've done. Take what you want, leave the rest. This is what I've done. And I found people here that don't say, hey, it's been 50 minutes, gotta go. They say, hey, what do you need? And they'll talk with you as long as you need them to. They'll walk with you, beside you, as long as you need them to, until you don't need it anymore. And it's just such a huge numbers game. And I'm really grateful, you know. I'm grateful because I'm the kind of person that likes to know there's a lot of people available but doesn't really like to call anyone. I like that I have all these phone lists and I could do it if I need to, but I don't. You know what I mean? And that's great. I'm the person that likes to be invited to a lot of places but don't like to come. I'm a person who likes to have a lot of friends who I love very much but don't feel a sense of obligation to. And in here we give so that you give to someone else. You don't owe me nothing, and I love that. So this program is custom made. If you're the kind of alcoholic I am on any level, this is custom made for you because you don't owe anybody anything. You don't even owe them to stay sober. And, you know, I don't know, people here are just rooting for you. Just rooting for you, even if they don't say a word to you. Just the very nature of them is rooting for you. And I'm just really grateful to be here. I appreciate you guys rooting for me. And I have, you know, I don't know, you know, I found everything I've ever looked for in Alcoholics Anonymous. I found everything. And for me, getting free is worth everything. Worth everything. I drank and used to get free, and I do all the things I do in recovery to get free. So we deserve it. I don't know anybody else that deserves it more, and I just wish you all the best of luck. Thank you very much for letting me share.